In 1999, I got married to my wife, Kate, and it was the day that I graduated college. We got married that night, a Friday night, in a little uh, campus chapel. And it wasn't long after that that we moved to New York, where we unknowingly became inner city youth ministers. The pastor who hired me was in his 70s, and he told me it was an urban, community. But I kind of just didn't believe him. I thought he was old, and I didn't see many kids around there. But there we were, a couple months into this new gig, and we were just dying of all the typical inner city problems. We didn't know what we were doing. We were overrun with kids. They kind of came out of the woodwork, and there was violence and gang issues and drugs. I remember leading music for the church for Mass, and I would see this kid come in. He'd come in every week, but he'd come in with his shirt off and just sit in the back pew and kiss girls. And it was a mess, and we didn't know what we were doing. And I remember coming to a breaking point where, I was just crying with my wife saying, what did we get ourselves into? That we don't know what we're doing. These kids are driving me crazy. And then something changed dramatically in our lives over the next couple months. And what it was is we fell in love. Not with each other, we were already in love, but we fell in love with these inner city young people that we were serving. And I remember, making some phone calls and trying to get a hold of some resources and all that kind of stuff. And really, one of the things I realized very quickly is there's just not a lot of people in the Catholic Church that are at least successfully serving inner city young people. There's a lack of resources, a lack of knowledge, there's a lack of interest, there's a lack of boots on the ground, really. And I think, as we prayed and we decided, hey, you know what? This happened on accident, but we want our lives to count for this purpose. We want to turn this into something that we purposefully do with our lives. The thing that we were convinced of is that if we could introduce people to these inner city young people, if we could introduce the church to these people that were so broken and were in such need, we were convinced that they would also fall in love. And so that's when we started Vagabond Missions. It was under this assumption, this idea that if people could come face to face with the poor, or an inner city kid that so oftentimes they seem scary, or we want someone else to do it, we believe that if we could bring those people face to face, if they could hear the story and meet these people, that they would fall in love and that they would get involved. And that's exactly what has happened with the Vagabond Missions. Here we are 13 years later, and we've been in cities all throughout the country. We've had lots of great people give their lives as missionaries to come work in the inner city. And we've had thousands and thousands of donors respond in heroic ways because they too fell in love. Maybe you're a donor that's exactly why you came on board, is because your heart was captured in love from an inner city kid. Maybe it's the first time you're hearing about Vagabond Missions. But our invite to you is that you would open your heart to the possibility of falling in love, because when we fall in love is when we end up doing crazy things. We hear stories of people who ran off and got married, or, sold their car and went, bought a ring, asked someone to marry him. When we get in love, it's when we tend to kind of do things that are radical. And so we thank you for being radical with us. We want to invite you into that. If you're new to the story, we invite you to be in love, and we thank you for being lovers with us in this adventure of Vagabond Missions.